We've got Ryan Cooper. He's national correspondent from The Week. Welcome, Ryan.
Hi.
So, Ryan, you recently wrote an article about the Green Deal that was announced yesterday. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on it?
So the Green New Deal, as they say, is very much in its early stages. I would say that was the main takeaway I had, that they really are not sure yet what they're going to put in this thing. Mm-hmm. You know, the basic logic of a Green New Deal is you have a massive investment program, economic restructuring of some sort, and greening the economy is the overall objective there, to reduce carbon emissions, get rid of coal and natural gas and, oil fuel transportation and all that type of stuff. But there are very few specifics in there, and a lot of very sort of vague aspirational demands. And I think that my sense is that they were so successful so early on that they're really not sure yet what how to play it.
Sure, but Ryan, so I want to ask you, Ryan, so Nancy Pelosi seemed pretty dismissive of the Green New Deal, some people would say. She called it the Green Dream, and then she also would not allow Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez onto the committee for the Green New Deal or for economic or climate change issues. Do you think that this is something that the senior leadership, like Nancy Pelosi in the Democratic Party, is actually going to put as a priority? Because it seems to me, in my opinion, I would argue as a conservative, that Barack Obama had tried many of these things and failed. You had Solyndra, you had a lot of, and not just in the U.S., in Germany and in the Middle East, you had the collapse of a lot of solar deals that there's just not the ability to store energy that's produced in renewable ways. The demand's just not there.
Well, I would, I guess, the question that people have to answer is, if you don't think that AOC's, approach here, if you think it's too vague, that's I think a fair criticism at this point. But the question that people have to answer is, well, what's your plan? And I think that folks like Pelosi are being very glib in the way that they sort of dismiss this as pie in the sky thinking, because what the IPCC, the consensus of climate scientists, says that we have now about 11 years left to cut our emissions by 50%. And that has to be part of a grand international coalition to deal with climate change, which necessarily, of course, the U.S. is only a small part of that. China, it's more than twice as much as the U.S. now. So there's a massive diplomatic problem there as well. And so, to say that these, the hippies or whatever haven't penciled out a perfectly technocratically workable plan, okay. What would be better? Because the most unserious thing, the most unrealistic thing, is to just sit on our hands for another 20 years and let civilization go up in smoke.
Well, a lot of our decline in emissions is because of natural gas, and that's something that President Trump and Republicans have really been pushing for. And it's not renewable, but it is a good in between. And so to have Democrats who are resisting against natural gas, to me, I think that's missing an area of possible bipartisan appeal.
The problem with natural gas is twofold. First, it only gets you so far on the best of theoretical grounds, right? So you're still burning carbon, you're still releasing carbon dioxide when you burn up the natural gas. The bigger problem is that all the natural gas installations throughout the country turn out to leak like crazy. And methane is about 28 times more powerful a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. So if you have very much leaking at all, then that completely cancels out the climate benefit of natural gas. And people who have done studies where they basically fly a plane over the wellheads and the pipelines and the gas burning plants find that it's leaking so much that it more than cancels out probably the climate benefit, that it's probably worse than coal all in. So I guess I would just disagree with you in that sense. Natural gas is kind of a bridge to nowhere type of policy.
What percentage leaks?
Oh, it only, you do if you read these papers, it leaks whatever, 1 or 2%, something like that. But because methane is so much more powerful due to the quantum mechanics of, it's the way that it resonates and absorbs infrared radiation, it just makes it much, much more effective at capturing heat. And so it has to be completely sealed up. And they just haven't, it just takes a couple of wells that aren't sealed up properly, and boom, your whole climate benefit goes out the window.
And what do you think? What do you think is the possible solution for a bipartisan resolution between our lawmakers?
I mean, bipartisan, I would say, is virtually out of the question under current political arrangements. Republicans would have to agree that climate policy is a worthy objective. And they currently, most of them, like President Trump, doesn't believe it's happening at all. And so there's really no room for agreement there. You could imagine, in the UK, where the Conservative Party is not completely out to lunch on this issue, sort of carbon tax, a more market-friendly approach. But that depends on the Republicans. And so if Republicans aren't going to do anything, then the only climate policy that's possible is going to be just Democrats winning total power across all levels of government and doing the sort of lefty policy that they prefer.
All right, Ryan Cooper, we got to leave it right there. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks for having me.